My name's Gordon from Drayson Design.
And I'm Taylor from The Creative Tinker.
And welcome to This Week with Taylor and Gordon, a weekly podcast and vidcast where we talk about things that have affected our businesses over the last 7 days. And thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome back.
It's been a bit cooler this week, hasn't it?
It has.
The weather has not been quite so hot, and I'm starting to sort of get back into work properly because my shows have been carrying on through into this week. But I've had a couple of days off now, which is lovely. But we are going away this weekend.
We are.
Yeah, we're going to see friend of the podcast, Paul Longhurst, which will be lovely. And we're going up and we're going to spend a bit of time at Santa Pod, which is a raceway, which sounds fascinating. I'm looking forward to that. And then I have a show in the evening on Saturday, tomorrow. And then we come home and we're taking the dog with us because there's no one to look after him. So it's going to be an exciting weekend.
Yeah.
Shall I start this week?
I'll go first this week.
Okay, off you go.
So this week I wanted to talk about my workflow for Git and how I use it with AI and how I use it for coding and things like that. So I've been spending a lot of time doing a lot of kind of development projects, which have been using code, a lot of code mainly. And I've found kind of a nice workflow that's been working for me, and it works really well. One of the main things that you find is if you're using AI for any coding, you soon will hit a bottleneck where you have multiple agents maybe running because, you can do more with multiple agents. And, when you're waiting for one, you can be, working on another editor like window. But the issue that you find is that your code will touch multiple files. And if you touch the same file with multiple agents, you then end up overwriting the same code, or you end up committing code into other branches that you didn't mean to. You can only work on one branch at a time. So the way you can actually get around this and the way it's supposed to be worked, but has been very underutilized up until kind of AI agents came in, is to use what's called worktrees. So worktrees is basically copying the entire project folder into a subfolder and then basically running a separate branch because you've got basically a separate whole repo. So then you have then two different agents working on basically two different projects or folders for the same project. This then gets around the ability to essentially have two different branches going at once, or 3, 4, 5 different branches, because you've basically duplicated it. Once you're done with the work tree, you just delete it because everything's stored on Git. And then the other thing that I've been doing is, instead of using a single branch for committing every single bit of changes or code, I have started using both GitHub issues and branches and pull requests to split everything out. Now, this is nothing new. Again, a lot of people do this or have been doing this for years before AI came in. But when AI is making lots of changes to your code base, the biggest bottleneck you then find is being able to review it. Now, I still like to review the code that is written. I still like to make sure things are done the way that I want them. I'm kind of opinionated in how I like code written, how I like things structured and things like that. And so I still want to be able to review them. However, if you have a branch that's got 5 different features on it, it may be going to have touched 100 files. And it's just not easy or possible to actually review that many files in a meaningful way. So what I do is I kind of break all of the things I want to push and I want to change. So whether it's a small bug fix, it's only one file and one line change, or whether it's a new feature that maybe adds 3 files to 5 files and makes, maybe 10 different changes. I still put them into separate branches because it means that when I come to reviewing, I can merge them as a single fix and go, that looks good. Because even though one change may be a small fix, you still want them separated. And I found this has been the best way to kind of manage both the advancement and speed at which you can make changes, because obviously AI can make changes a lot faster, while still having that element of human in the loop, which I mentioned in a previous episode that we watched a talk on actually at WordCamp. And I've been thinking about that ever since, and that's how I kind of came to this structure this workflow and setup, and it's been working really well.
Okay, so for those who don't understand this process like myself at the moment, what sort of prompt would you give AI to make sure it's creating a work tree and cleaning up after itself?
So what I like to do is I kind of use, I'll start with, I want to make these changes. So if I get feedback from a client that they've given me lots of small little one-line changes, I'll go through and paste those in and say, open a GitHub issue for each of these. It will add context. It will sometimes look through the code base to add extra context to where I may be referring to. And then it will open up a GitHub issue for each of these. These are then essentially tickets or tasks that you would have in your project to-do list, but they're stored in GitHub inside of the project itself. So it has that extra context. It can refer between multiple issues. So if you've got a, say you've got changes for the mobile menu.
We're having AI talk to us right now.
Okay. Anyway, if I've got mobile menu changes, instead of having one single issue, which is like 20 different small fixes, I'll ask it to put them as separate issues. And then what it means is once I've added these issues, I can say, go through these issues, and I can name them for whatever reason. And then, or by the issue ID, sorry. And for each one, if I've got an open Claude Code instance, I'll maybe open a couple of different instances, because obviously one agent can only be working on one at a time. But I'll say, you work on these ones, you work on these ones, and open them in a new work tree so that you don't have any conflicts. Once you have made the change for each issue, open a new branch and open a pull request to dev, and obviously what the changes were, and then move on to the next one. And so what it does is it opens a new branch, a new pull request, and then all I have to then do is go through and look at all of the pull requests that it opens, look at files changed, look at the comments, if it left any things that need checking or anything that needs human intervention, and I'll check it. If it's all good, I then merge it and then go through to the next one. When you're working on a production setup where your deployments or your pushes will auto deploy, I make sure that I push to a dev branch. This means that I can then merge 10, 15, 20 pull requests that doesn't then affect production. And then I open one pull request from dev to the main branch, and that will then trigger a redeploy. So then I'm basically batch merging to production. This isn't always the way people do it. Sometimes people just auto redeploy if you've got atomic deployments, which is kind of just keep on pushing. But for me, I don't want to keep redeploying. It uses up kind of server resources. And also I like to batch them, especially if you've got small changes. It's easier to just batch them into one deployment.
Okay, that sounds very interesting. I need to look into this myself, I think, because I'm doing various things. Do you have a paid GitHub account?
I do, yeah.
Right, okay, because I know that if you put things into a free GitHub account, it's open source effectively, isn't it?
So you can have private repos. The main reason for having a paid account is you get higher minutes. So when you're using GitHub Actions, you get if you've got a public repo, you get unlimited minutes because it's all about the open source philosophy. But if you have a private repo, then they go against your minutes. You get something like 3,000 minutes a month or something like that. So there's a very lenient tier, but you also get extra permissions and things on private repos. So you can put protections in place for branches. You can put requirements for Git commit messages, what can be merged and things like that, which you can't get sometimes on the free plan. But the free plan will get you most of the way there.
Okay, that's very good, because I think I'm using the free plan for my Home Assistant, but I don't think it's in a private repo. So I may need to fix that. Otherwise, my whole home automation is a little unsecure.
Just a bit.
Although there aren't any keys in there, because it's very clever. It figures out where the keys are and doesn't upload those. So
yeah, so you mainly will put them in what we call an M file, which is you basically have an environment variables that are only available to your your local or on the production, and that's the easiest way and securest way. And then you have an env.example, which is essentially if anyone clones the repo, here are all of the example environment variables you would need to get up and running.
Okay, there we go. We've learned lots about how to program today. That's very interesting. Thank you for that, Taylor. I would like to talk to you about something I discovered just this week, in fact, something called BusyBar.
Yeah.
So BusyBar was something that appeared on my feed. I'm not sure where it was. Might have been Facebook. And I sort of watched the video, and it was very interesting. So it's like a little device about the size of a glasses case, and it's got sort of like a low resolution screen on it. And it has some buttons and turning knobs and things on the top. And so one of the things you can do with it is you can set a time, you can hit the button, and it comes up with the word busy and then a countdown timer. And you can mount this on the wall, or it'll sit on top of your monitor facing either way, either towards you or away from you. So the idea is that if somebody in your office or somebody who is, if you work from home, someone wants to come and talk to you, they can see your status at the time. So they can see you're busy and you're going to be busy for another 20 minutes. And then they know to come back without having to interrupt you. Because as we know, if you get interrupted, every interruption takes about 23 seconds or so to recover from and start getting back into your headset again, your mindset. So I thought that was quite interesting. And then I read more about it. And you can develop for it. So it's got sort of like an open source developer kit. The software that runs it is open source, so you can change it and modify it however you like. It connects to Matter, which is one of the technologies that we use for Home Assistant. It'll also connect on Wi-Fi, I believe. And so it seems to be that you can create pretty much whatever you want with it. There's a couple of nice things. So for example, if you're set to busy, you can have it connect to your phone and set a focus mode on your phone so that you don't get interrupted with messages or notifications. And that is all done by one press of the button, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
You can also set it to if you're getting a phone call or you're on a Zoom call, it can then show do not disturb or I'm on a call on the display. Again, that is really useful if you have it set to somewhere where somebody's going to come into your room and they'll be able to look at it and see you're on a call. It's like, right, okay, don't disturb him, he's on a call. Which is quite cool. But I'm guessing you can also create things using APIs. So you can create, for example, number of followers on Instagram. Mm-hmm. We've seen these in the background on videos, YouTube videos, where people have got a device that they've spent a lot of money on that will show how many followers they're having on Instagram or YouTube or whatever in real time. And I've always quite fancied the idea of those, but they're really expensive and they just do one thing, whereas this does lots of things. And I thought, that would be quite a good use for it.
Yeah.
And maybe having it, connect to Claude and then tell you from a distance when it's finished its task.
Yeah.
So you can be across the room doing something else, admin or, making yourself a cup of coffee or whatever, and sort of just a glance over to your workstation will show you that something's finished. In my case, I've got washing machine which will tell me when it's finished, and that will happen through my Alexa devices. It will tell me. But if I'm not within earshot and I don't hear that, then I don't know. So I could have it alert me and flash on it, and maybe I'll need to press the button to clear it. There are lots of different things that it looks like you can do with this device.
Yeah.
And having it, be programmable means that lots of other people are going to do things, and I'm guessing they're going to be sharing it with the community. So I messaged you and let you know, and you knew about these sorts of devices. You'd seen one before.
Yeah.
But you know, within about 2 minutes after telling you about it, you told me that you'd already purchased it and it was on its way to you. And so I thought, well, okay, I'll get one. Now, it was about £185, which is quite expensive for a device that is just a small display. But if you can get it working for you and use it so that it sort of helps you during your everyday tasks, then that's going to be a good use of money, I think. I think it's going to be a good tool for you to get for your office. And in my case, it can show me when my next booking is, just to remind me, you know, that I've got something coming up in the next day, because I think you can link it to calendars. So I don't know, because it hasn't arrived yet, but this is all of the things that I believe it's capable of. I think we'll probably find out, you know, in a couple of weeks or so what we've managed to do with it, and maybe we'll come back to this and see what we can do. Is there anything that you looked at it and you thought, oh, I can make it do this for me, and that was your sort of the thing that tipped you over the edge to purchase it?
I liked they could have like the Pomodoro type technique, so you can start a timer and it will show you how long you got left, but also because it's connected to everything, I can have it automatically change the focus state. I can use it on my personal site, which is one I just thought of now, but I can show the current state, whether I'm in a focused mode or not. Also, being able to show me when my next meeting is or when my next calendar event is quite important. I have it on the top of my phone computer menu bar, but having it like in front of me as a digital kind of screen was also quite nice.
And did you know it had a mono screen on the back as well?
Yeah.
So if, for example, you've got like a workstation and most people come towards you, so they're not seeing what's on your screen, maybe for privacy reasons, or maybe that's just the way you've got the office set up. You can have there's a little mono screen at the back. So if you've got the important information facing away from you, it's got like two little legs that sit on top of your monitor and balance it. You can be looking at the little mono screen to see what is being displayed out to other people, which I thought was quite a nice idea as well.
Yeah.
You can power it by USB-C. I believe it has a battery, so it's got like an 8-hour battery on it, so you don't have to have it plugged in the whole time. But yeah, I quite like the idea of it. It seems like a nice thing to help you to focus, because you can use the Pomodoro thing and have a focus mode, which, you know, is too much hassle for me to set up every time I wanted to do it previously. But having it just as a button is going to be great. But also alerting you of something that's really important. So I think we'll come back to this once we've both got our devices, and we'll see how we've used it and if we used it, because you know, there are things like Stream Deck which you bought which you don't use anymore. I was thinking that could be quite a good way to change the apps that it's showing, you know, and press a button on your Stream Deck and have it go into a particular mode. That might work. So we shall see. Anyway, that is everything from me today.
And me as well.
Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we are on YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe.
You can also go to our website thisweekwith.co.uk to find all of our past episodes.
And if you would prefer to watch us, rather than listen to start that again. If you would prefer to listen to us instead of watch us, we are on all the major podcast platforms and on your smart speaker. Just look for This Week with Taylor and Gordon. All being well, we'll be back with you next week at 1 p.m. on Friday. Until then, my name is Gordon and I'm from Drayson Design.
And I'm Taylor from The Creative Tinker.
Goodbye.
Bye.